Hello YouTube, long time no see. My apologies, I was working on this video back in April. It's been a couple months since an episode of PinkBlue, but everything happened with Black Lives Matter at the forefront and everything, and I just wanted to more focus on highlighting that. So it's been a minute, but I'm back now, and let's talk about some stuff. God, what has happened since the last episode? I've been stuck in quarantine. I've been getting large. I started working out every other day because I was trapped in here and was like, you know what, might as well to follow my dreams and shit. So I'm getting big. I'm a big boy now. I'm working out every other day. I'm doing 150 sit-ups every other day, and it's starting to show. People have complimented my body for a while, but dysmorphia and dysphoria are both just real pains in the ass, and sometimes I can't tell what I actually look like. So it's a very good thing that I'm starting to notice, because now it's like, oh, this is so large of a change that like I'm getting it now. Things are still bad in the world with the virus, but I was able to go back to my hometown for a couple days to take care of a dentist appointment, because there's barely any cases up there, because everyone is like very good and wearing their masks and social distancing. And it's like not a political thing to wear a mask up there. And I'm very grateful for it. Rest of the world, maybe you could do this. And then you too could drink some champagne on a boat with two other individuals, because you don't want to. I'm nervous getting in groups of too many people. But like up there, it was like fucking nothing. There's barely any cases. And I'm like so proud of my hometown. You know, you're not sure what to think going back to your hometown after like such a large change, because I'm such a different dude than I was before, obviously. And it seems like my town has just kind of grown alongside with me, and that feels very good. Twitter also discovered my cis doppelganger, which was wild. Look at this fucking thing. Look at this man. This is ridiculous. It's so funny. I legitimately thought it was me when I first saw it. And it also does not help that the dude that he's with also looks like an ex of mine who is also trans. So like this is just like a cis doppelganger peek into another world. It makes me feel very validated though that there are cis dudes. When you see cis dudes that like look like you, like the Kylo Ren scene where he's just a big buff man fridge, I was like, hell yeah. Guys come in all shapes and sizes, and like it makes me feel good when I see another cis dude with like, you know, kind of more of the triangle shape where they got wide hips, but it's kind of like big here, and that's like the kind of shape I'm doing. You know, my hips are starting to disappear, and the buffer I get in top heavy, the more it looks cisgender. And not all trans people want to look cisgender, but that's just kind of a thing that I'm going for. And I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about my body and about life, and things are real good right now. So, I like that. Anyway, come on in. Take your shoes off, please. I don't like shoes in my house. Just take off your shoes at the front at the place and sit down. Let's talk about some things. I didn't mean for that to sound as aggressive as it maybe came off. Take off your damn shoes. I've told you a million times. Today we're going to talk about misgendering, because it's a topic that I really should have covered sooner, and I did not, and I'm sorry. I was on my bullshit and I wanted to talk about other things. Well, let's talk about some basics, because this is a basic. Yeah, basic misgendering. Yeah, basic. First off, what is misgendering? Misgendering is when you refer to a trans person as well, actually, it can happen to cis people too. I have friends who kind of look more gender neutral, and they get misgendered sometimes. Sometimes they have like their name is like Aubrey or like Sam or something, where it's more of a acceptable name for both men and women. So they get misgendered too. So let's just make it a blanket and just put it over everyone. Get comfy under there. Misgendering is when you refer to someone with incorrect pronouns. Pronouns are he, him, she, her, they, them, or any other. There's tons of others, but I am not knowledgeable about those, so I don't want to talk about things I don't know about, so I just kind of leave them out, and I leave you to do your own research. But for now, the ones that I am knowledgeable about, I will talk about. Someone tells you their pronouns and you use the wrong ones, that's misgendering. Or if someone doesn't tell you their pronouns, or like hasn't had the chance to yet or whatever, and you use them incorrectly, that's also misgendering. There are lots of different categories and shit. I'll get into it. Because misgendering isn't about the technical use of using correct words all the time. Misgendering is more about the effect that it has. I wrote down a good definition, so I'm gonna read that off of this page instead of trying to memorize it and saying it and messing up a million times like a fool. Misgendering is to cause pain and dysphoria. You're basically abusing the psyche to make them forget their current situation or their current body, usually in an attempt to make them not want to be alive. It's a sad topic, but we're gonna talk about it today. That's why the disclaimer is at the beginning, because it's some deep, dark shit. You're basically dehumanizing them by making their transness optional. It's considered an act of violence because most of the time it leads to it, unfortunately, whether it's us hurting ourselves because of the psychological effect or someone else hurting us. It has a severe impact on mental health and well-being. Not all trans people experience dysphoria, but it still has an effect. It can cause depression or an overall feeling of, oh, I am in danger, someone wants to hurt me. And over time, if you're experiencing that a lot, it can have negative health effects. Now, there are two main types of misgendering. There is accidental and there is targeted. Accidental is, as the name implies, accidental. It can be done by friends or family who knew you pre-transition and they haven't reprogrammed that part of their brain that switches over the pronouns. They're like, ah, shit, I did this on accident. They know and are aware of the fact that it can cause you pain, but it was just an oopsie. It can also just be done in the wild, where someone just assumes your gender and is just like, bah, and just says it, and then you're like, nope. The second is targeted. This is done by someone just because they are a shitty person and they want to be shitty. They are aware of your pronouns, but they are going out of their way to show that they are a bad person and they don't respect trans people. There's something in them that makes them believe they are superior to you and they want to assert their dominance and kind of be this force. But it's funny because it ends up just making them seem like a child in basic society, where we live in a society. Insert the clown fucking meme jumping and dancing down the steps. I didn't see the movie. And then he says, why so serious, and shoots someone in the head, right? I'm just assuming off of the memes. We live in a society and a culture where if you mess up and someone corrects you, you're just like, whoops, sorry, and you correct it. If I'm walking down the street and there's a dog and I'm like, what a cute little boy, and someone's like, oh, she's a girl dog, and I'm like, whoopsie, what a cute little girl. That's it. Like, it's a polite thing to do. I respect this animal, so I will correct the fucking thing that I said that was a bad thing. So in this culture, if someone corrects you on their pronouns, if someone is a girl and you say he by accident and they're like, oh, actually I'm a girl, you don't say, I'm right. Ah! Look like boy, I say boy. That's it. That's the end of the sentence because I'm mad. How dare you correct me on something I have been 100% right about everything I've said since the day I was born. So seeing this aggressive individual out in the wild it's wild. If someone is aware of the situation and is using incorrect pronouns on purpose, luckily that only really appeals to other people who are of the same mind. Bigots are kind of just sticking with bigots. If you're a bigoted individual and you see someone using someone's incorrect pronouns and are like, hell yeah, stick it to the world, then that's those are your people, I guess. But any sane individual who sees this happening is going to be like, oh, this is not an individual who is intelligent or to be trusted. They just seem like they're throwing a temper tantrum. So yeah, it's usually, it just kind of looks like it's someone who doesn't know any better, which I feel is disrespectful to toddlers. Because if you teach a toddler how to correctly gender someone and how to fix mistakes when they screw up, like, they're acting worse than a toddler, huh? What a weird train of thought that is. Speaking very broadly, like, I don't speak for all trans people or anything, but in my experience and with the experiences of my friends, in my noggin here, accidental usually hurts more than targeted. Targeted, we know you're being a dick just to be a dick, and it doesn't really, it's more indicative of a larger scale problem than us as an individual. Like, we know that it's not us, it's you. We might be sad or distressed that people like you exist and, talk to other people like you that exist, but we don't take it personally. There's a very good tweet by my friend Dash that I want to pull up. They said something last month that was very good, and it was something that I wouldn't be able to put in better terms than they did. Reminder, I'm not mad that you forgot my pronouns/gender descriptors. I'm hurt because your repeated use of incorrect pronouns/gender descriptors reveal that you still perceive me as something I'm not, which renders any correct use as simply lip service. We just want to be seen as we are, which is why I said that thing at the beginning where it's not the technical English use, like correctness words wise. It's just that it reveals more about your mentality. Now, why is misgendering so bad? Well, we've already talked about the fact that it can cause mental and physical pain. Not only is it disrespectful of trans people as a whole, but it also contributes to the abuse, physical and mental, and all kinds of abuse, basically, that we face on a day-to-day basis. Even if you don't think it's harmful on an individual scale, it's more about how it affects culture and the world. It is directly contributing to, our physical well-being and how often we get abused and murdered. It's basically a big domino effect, where, it starts with, if trans people aren't respected, that means I don't have to respect them, because if everyone else doesn't respect them, then I don't have to, as an individual, let them into my business. I don't have to treat them for medical conditions if I'm a doctor. And if that happens, then they shouldn't get all of these rights that they've been trying to get. And if they don't have rights, they maybe shouldn't serve in the military. And it's just like, it leads all up to like, I am justified in murdering this trans person. This trans person is lying to me. They don't exist. They don't deserve to have a life. And it has been triggered by all of these little dominoes. I should put my son or daughter or child in conversion therapy because this, and they're lying to themselves. It's a mental disorder. I'm going to deny all of this science and substitute my own. Trans people being put under this microscope and being abused the way that we are is going to scale back society as a whole. Because if trans people are a mental disorder, then of course gay people are a mental disorder too. All queer people are a mental disorder. If someone doesn't experience romantic attraction, we should put them in therapy too. And everyone should be in therapy, but not specifically to quote unquote fix this thing that is actually natural about them. So scaling back trans rights is going to do a lot to affect queer people as a whole. A bigot or transphobe's goal is for this first domino to affect all these little dominoes leading up to justifying transphobia. There are so many trans deaths a year. It's a lot and it's very bad. I'm usually ha-has with the jokes, but this is a serious topic, and this has an effect on trans mental health because we are in this constant fear of what people think of us. Are we accepted? Are we safe? What's happening on a day-to-day basis? I can't just go on a dating app anymore and think that I'll be safe. I have a very thorough vetting process that I have to go through, and I'm very fortunate that I haven't been killed, because I even just dating, even just going for a job interview, it lets people know who you are, and that's a scary thing. I have had hate crimes committed against me. I have been in dating situations where an individual can get very aggressive and try to hurt me because I am trans, even though they knew I was trans before we went on the date, but that's fine. Anyway, I'm still alive, and that's a great thing. Just learn self-defense, queer people. I wish I didn't have to say that, but we gotta. A lot of queer people I know open carry because we have to. I have another trans friend who is teaching me Wing Chun and Judo, and I carry a knife and I carry pepper spray, and we have to be a fucking arsenal just to exist. 42% of trans women commit suicide. 46% of trans men commit suicide. That is insane. Both of those are insane. But thinking about my own individual statistic, 46%, that's an insane thing. That's almost 50%. That's ridiculous. I had to double check with like 4 or 5 different sources when I first learned that like a year ago or whenever I did, because I was like, that seems very high. But also, maybe I shouldn't talk because I have tried to kill myself twice. I'm probably not the one that should be like, that seems made up. Now, yeah, thinking about it, that does seem accurate. And honestly, it's probably more, because it's not that more trans people are like being created in a lab, or because they're exposed to the media that have trans people in them, they're like, oh, I'm just some trans now. Like bigots seem to think is happening. It's more that we have the knowledge that trans people exist now, and we can express the things that we're feeling. We can express what dysphoria is to a psychologist, and they can be like, you might be trans, like you might want to look into this. Because back in the day, there were less like out in the public, out means publicly and rather acknowledging that you are gay or bi or pan or trans or whatever, something that is different than the quote unquote normal society. And there are a lot of people who will never know that they're trans or gay or bi or anything because they haven't acknowledged it to themselves or they haven't even thought about it before. They just feel sad all the time and they kill themselves, and then that's it. There's no more to that story. If they had kept living, they might have done some research, or they might have seen themselves portrayed in a TV show and be like, oh shit, that's how I'm feeling, maybe I should look into this. Maybe they gained acceptance, whether in themselves or with their family or friends, and maybe they go on to live a very happy, good life. But they didn't because they killed themselves. And that fucking sucks. And that's what I'm trying to prevent with these videos and with just talking in general and knowledge and sharing thoughts and feelings and emotions and hoping we can understand ourselves a little more. The Williams Institute estimates that over 1 million transgender people are employed in offices around the country. I'm just going to talk a little bit about employment because this is a big deal. 90% of them have experienced discrimination or harassment because they're trans. This was a survey of tens of thousands of people conducted by the Center for Transgender Equality. This is insane. And 1/3 have been fired because they're trans. It's a lot. It's a lot. And for a lot of trans people who are employed, they might not disclose their pronouns to people because they feel shitty, and then they're just misgendered all the time at work, and then they are depressed, and then they feel hopeless, they eventually quit their job, and eventually they might commit suicide. It's a long, it's a domino effect. Misgendering might not seem like a big deal, but it is part of the puzzle that is contributing to a much bigger issue than ourselves. We need to be respected, we need to be taken seriously, otherwise this shit is just normalized. So now that you know a little bit about the subject and how it affects trans people, what can you do to help? Well, I wrote some guidelines that will help you to help us. Help me, help you, help me, help you. The first rule is to refer to people in their correct pronouns, even if you are talking about them in past tense before they transition. The goal of this language is just to not remind us that we're trans. That's all we want, really. And of course, this could change person to person if someone goes out of their way to say, hey, I would prefer, or it is fine to refer to me as my previous pronouns in this specific instance. Whatever they tell you, that's the rules you should go with. That should override these. But this is just a general guideline of what is typically the rules. Even if you're a family member that's talking about a trans person when they were 8 years old or whatever, and they haven't gone through physical or mental changes, it can be dysphoric to bring that up in front of that person. My grandpa died recently, and so my mom has these pictures of me and him when I was 6 or 7, and she was wondering if she could show them, and I was like, hey, I don't want to see pictures of me pre-transition. That would not be good. Luckily, I'm far enough in my physical transition that it doesn't cause dysphoria. I just don't want to be reminded of my previous life. So it's not like it will be painful for me, but it is still not a thing that I'm interested in. And she was like, oh, well, you were only 6 or 7 in these pictures. And I'm like, that doesn't matter. And that was did I transition physically? No, that is not the case. And once I explained that, she was like, oh, of course, obvious. So I think there's maybe a disconnect between cis people trying to relate this feeling to themselves. And that's most often the case with all of these rules or guidelines, if once you tell a cis person the rule or the reasoning behind it, it clicks automatically usually, and they're like, oh, that is very obvious, why did I not realize that before? So most of these might be basic logic to you once you learn them. Number 2, preferred pronoun is a microaggression. They're just pronouns. They're just pronouns. If you're a cis person and you have pronouns, they are pronouns. If you're a trans person and your fire alarm goes off because they sent you an email about it and then you forgot about it, then the fire alarm still goes off and the pronouns are still pronouns. Preferred pronoun makes it sound optional. Instead of Jenna is a girl, it sounds like Jenna thinks she's a girl, which, is yucky, and it enforces the myth that trans people are trying to trick you or trying to lie to you, or that we have a mental disorder or something, which is crazy that in 2020 we still have to point out to people that trans people are a thing medically and scientifically. It's insane. WHO, which stands for the World Health Organization, the American Psychiatric Association, the American Medical Association, all of these organizations are like, hey, trans people aren't a mental disorder. Can you stop saying that, please? And there are still transphobes that will use science as their defense when it is That's the alarm that goes off in my head when they try to say that shit. You can quote third grade biology at us all you want, dude. It doesn't stop science from being real and changing and evolving. Anyone with half a brain cell or an iota of research could tell you this. Doctors, surgeons, medical professionals of all kinds, the people who study the brain, everyone is saying the thing, and you wouldn't be able to tell because of how we're still treated. Number 3, don't misgender people that you don't like or respect, not based on their transness. You're still transphobic. This is a very obvious one, but I didn't know this before I realized that I was trans, so I want to include it just in case. Because it is one of those things you don't think about. Like, especially me as a white person who, like, I didn't have to think about microaggressions or fucking, like, racist anything. I was just kind of internally racist and didn't think about it. I thought just because I wasn't using the N-word meant that I wasn't racist, you know? Just because someone does something or did something that you don't like, or you any kind of disliking of this person, you don't get to be a bigot without being a bigot. There isn't a get out of jail card or a free pass because they deserved it, quote unquote. If a black person pisses me off and I call them the N-word, I'm still a racist. Like, I'm still doing and saying something racist. It doesn't matter what they did to me or what they said to me. The moment I turn, the moment that is something that's put in place, I am automatically in the wrong, because there's no justifying that. There's no justifying what I say or do. Because think about it. Think about what that implies. It's like, oh no, I have black friends, and I don't call them the N-word, but this black person, they're an N-word. How can you think that's okay in any context? You're revealing what's actually in your heart. You're revealing that some black people deserve to be called the N-word. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. Caitlyn Jenner sucks shit. She is a terrible fucking person, but she's still a girl. If you misgender her or you use the incorrect pronouns for her, you're a piece of shit. Like, she's a huge bitch. But if you misgender her, you're proving how weak you are, because there is so much to make fun of Caitlyn Jenner. She's awful. She's literally killed someone. Like, there's so much material to work with, and yet you choose that? Like, you're automatically making yourself lose for no reason. You could easily win this. You could easily win an argument with Caitlyn Jenner. Once you start using transphobic language, no one is going to take you seriously except for other people who think it's okay to misgender a trans person. And if you're just trying to appeal to other bigots, that's perfectly fine. Be a bigot. You will appeal to other bigots, but it makes you look foolish and weak, because people see what's going on in your head when the cameras aren't on. They see what is really true to your beliefs. What are you doing and what are you saying and thinking when no one is watching? Number 4, use correct pronouns even when the person is not in your presence. Even if they're not in the room, you have to use the correct pronouns. This is another obvious one. All of these are obvious, like I said, but I just want to reiterate them because some people just might not be aware. You are reprogramming your brain to think a certain way. You're reprogramming and turning on a switch that says, oh, I used these pronouns for this person before, and now I have to switch them over. And if you're not doing that at every opportunity, then it's just lip service. Using the correct pronouns for them, for the trans individual, it isn't for them. It's a thing in general. Think about it like this. How would you like it if someone was nice to your face, but then you found out that they were talking shit about you behind your back? That would make you feel shitty, right? Misgendering is disrespectful, so you want to be respectful of them in every context. Whether they're in the room or not, respect that person. And don't just respect them, see them. See them, really see them. They are trusting you with a part of themselves. They wouldn't come out to you. They wouldn't tell you, hey, these are the pronouns that I use, if they didn't value you, if they didn't trust you, you know? So don't betray that trust, you know? Use it. Be honored by it, that they trust you with that. Now, how do you deal with it as the offender? What if I'm talking to someone and I accidentally fuck up the pronouns? What do you do? Because it's a panic-inducing situation sometimes, where you're like, fuck, I have to make this right in this moment, and you only have a second to, like, figure out what to do. The best thing you can do is just to correct it and move on. The main 2 ways I've seen people fuck up is either to not correct it or to over-apologize, and they are both probably as bad as each other. You have to correct yourself, and that's key. You know, like, if you don't correct yourself, we're not mind readers. We don't know if you even noticed that you used the incorrect pronoun. We don't know if you care. We don't know. We're not going to assume things. We're just going to be hurt. Don't apologize. Don't give a bunch of excuses. Don't like rattle on like, oh, I'm sorry. It's just so hard. I'm still getting used to it. Whatever. Do not do that. Do not make it about you, basically, because then you're putting the burden on the trans person, and then we feel shitty that like, look what we made you do. You know, this isn't about you. We're not attacking you. We're not, you know, like it might hurt and it will affect us, but you need to do damage control and you need to move on. So correct it. Move on like it didn't happen. Just think about what you would do if you messed up a cis person's pronouns. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone is gonna screw up. There's a learning process. Culture has ingrained so much shit in us that we see something and we assume things. They, them took me a bit because it really shouldn't, because they, them has always been used as a singular and plural word. That's a whole other subject. But basically, even I have issues sometimes that I learn from and I correct myself, and these rules apply to me as well as you. We just want to see that you're trying, actually trying. That's all we want. A cool trick that I learned that someone had posted about online is that if you mess up someone's pronouns, mentally go over and use their pronouns in 5 different sentences. And that's been a fucking game changer for me. That has really, really helped. So I encourage you to try that. If you fuck up, it shows that you just have work to do, and we just have to put in what you get out. I practice every opportunity that I can, and it's been great. Improvement is improvement. Now let's talk about the other side of it. How do you deal with it when this is the thing that has happened to you? Now, I can only speak from a trans male perspective, so I'm just saying that right away. But for me, when it happens, it can still get to me for sure. But I am far enough into my social and physical and mental transition that it doesn't really fuck me up. It doesn't really fuck me up nearly as much as it used to earlier in the transition process. Because now I have a confidence and a love for myself it rarely gets shaken by pieces of shit. Because like I said, the targeted misgendering, it doesn't really affect me. It's more the accidental ones, where it's someone that I love and know and trust. And how I've dealt with it is that I've cut off a lot of people from my previous life, a lot of family. Even though they are supportive, it's still, they might make mistakes, and I wasn't at a point in my life where I could deal with it. And I'm starting to get there now, so I'm opening myself up to more family members that I hadn't before, who are supportive of me. But in the past, I knew that I couldn't handle it mentally, so I made the precautions that I did. Friends and family, they need to prove to me that they can be trusted and that they love and respect me. And then I will let them into my life, or I will keep them in my life. It's never happened to me personally, but I've heard from friends that it especially hurts when they get misgendered by someone that they have been sexually or romantically intimate with. Because then it's like, ooh, do you see me as I am? What is happening here? Like you trust them with your body and with your mind. And so it's a lot more personal if something like that comes up. So it's a lot more of the accidental stuff, because if it's targeted misgendering, I'm far enough in my process that I'm like, oh, they called me a girl. So what? This doesn't affect me at all. Like I'm secure in myself. I am physically, mentally, and legally male. Like there's really nothing they can do to hurt me in that way. It's just a silly thing that seems like you're just mistaken and someone hasn't corrected you yet. Or if they have, you're just like, no, I'm right. And then just, it doesn't affect me. This is a problem clearly with you, not with me. And this is all cosmetic shit. You don't have to transition physically or legally in order to be trans, but this is what brings me comfort and what brings me peace. And I've never been so confident and happy because I allowed myself the process of taking these steps. I did what was best for me, and I knew that I couldn't handle a lot of things at that time, and now I am becoming more open to them, to things that I wasn't comfortable with before. Like, I think a dude could literally misgender me while I am wearing a dress in my current state. I hate dresses, but I could probably just wear one and just still be mentally and physically and everything there and be confident and comfortable and just be like, nah, I'm a dude, and then just kind of swish the fucking dress, walk down the street, More about the mental state. You being a piece of shit isn't gonna make my dick fall off, I grew it and there's that, and I'm gonna have a surgery to make it bigger one day, but it's not gonna make it fall off just because someone's like, you used to have this part. I'm like, great, okay, I have both parts right now, but the innie junk is just kind of it's dead at this point because I've been on hormones long enough. It's just kind of a thing that's sitting there waiting to be removed. It serves no purpose other than me peeing. Actually, pee doesn't even come out of there. It serves no purpose. There's nothing happening there. It's very, very funny trying to see like eggs, which is like anonymous Twitter people, trying to see them harass trans men is so funny because they have no idea what language to use. They are so used to like trans women being the face of the trans movement that they forget trans men even exist, or they don't even know what non-binary people are. Like, they're so uneducated that they just think trans women are the only category of trans people. So when they see a trans man, they don't know what to say. They don't know how to make fun of this person. They're just like, I want to hurt this individual and I don't know how, and it's making my brain hurt. Someone called me lady once, and it was so funny. I was actually being hurt before because of comments, and then that happened and it made me laugh out loud because he sounded just like a 30s gangster. Like, he should be a background actor in Guys and Dolls, and that was his best jab at me, and I was feeling shitty, and that made me feel so incredible. I felt so good the rest of the day. It was like, that's the best you got? Fucking, that's it? That's your best shot? Fuck, man, maybe this guy isn't very smart, actually. I might have been mistaken. Words are so silly. Anyone can use words. Isn't that crazy? There's also this phenomena that the more openly hateful a person is, the less power that they get over time, because it's overexposure. It's becoming numb, it's destimulation. Yeah, they called me a girl, but they also called that cis man a girl because he was crying, and they also called that cis man a girl because he couldn't throw a football correctly, and he also uses the N-word and the F-slur, and he also thought that Supergirl was too feminist, and he also... Maybe this guy just sucks. And you gain all this confidence because you realize that their opinion on things doesn't matter. Their opinion holds so much less weight the more you're exposed to their garbage, because it's too much. They have to be more picky with their hate. I can't speak as to how much it affects other trans people, but for transphobes who misgender trans men on purpose, it's just, they want to fuck us so bad. They want us to be women so bad so they can justify how bad they want to fuck us. When I started seeing more physical changes, like at least 7 or 8 cis men who were trying to get in my pants before just pulled a full break stop and started calling me a girl and just started just being very aggressive very quickly. And it's like, dude, this says way more about you than it does about me. What are you doing? This is so cringy. And it's hilarious because I don't know if they even know how it makes them look. But from the majority of people who said that they were just outside cis people watching transphobia happen, that was their understanding of the situation also. I tweeted about it and I had a lot of cis people coming to me that were like, yeah, isn't that obvious? Of course they want to fuck you. That's why they're being transphobic. Is that not what is understood? So I think they just don't know how it makes them look, which is ridiculous, but I guess that's the least ridiculous thing about transphobes. So there is an emasculation that comes with it when you're attracted to a trans person for the first time, especially a trans man. And it takes a very special brand of insecure to feel something in your heart and then react aggressively and violently as a result. It's basically just a fucking tantrum shit fit that they're throwing because they're like, you made me have a boner and I'm mad about it. I'm not gay, I like women, so you must be a woman because I have a boner for you. I'm gonna jerk off to you and it's gonna be straight because you're a girl. You obviously do not have to appear cis male in order to be a man, but fucking look at me, dude. I have more facial hair and more body hair than you. My voice is lower than yours. What are you doing? Even if we're going by the bullshit fucking looking cis male in order to be male, even if we're going by that toxic weird bullshit, I obviously don't look like a girl to you. This is weird. You're doing a very weird thing, and everyone can see what is actually going on. You can go ahead and be mad that I turn you on, or you can... Let me... Listen, I'm just saying there's a healthy way to deal with this. There are the two categories of people. There are transphobes who are mad that they're attracted to me, and then there are cis men that are like, please fuck me in the ass. And I do it because there's nothing hotter than a cis dude coming to you and being like, I've never been attracted to a dude before, but we should do this. I got a bingo card. You want to help me fill it up? Maybe stop being transphobic. Until recently, I did not think there was anything hotter than someone being like, hey, I've never been attracted to dudes before, but you have helped me discover and reevaluate my sexuality, and I know that I'm into dudes now, so I appreciate you. That's always super cool and super hot when I get that, and I get that often enough that I'm like, this is a valid thing. But recently I discovered something even better than that, which is one of my old male friends, cis male, was like, the boners did not start until after the transition. And I've always known him as a straight cis dude, so this is like, wow, what? Oh, oof, my heart, my dick. This is great. Thank you for validating my purpose in life, which is just to make everyone horny. I just want to make people laugh and I want to make people horny. That's all I want in life. I'm living the dream. You can get on this train or you could watch it leave the station, but either way, it's a chug-chugging with or without you. Hop on this caboose and I'll hop on your caboose. So yeah, that's how I handle hate, is just realizing they're babies. No sane, intelligent person is going to see or hear the things that they're saying and think it is correct or that they are a smart individual. The only people I'm concerned about are just people who don't know any better, and then once they learn, they're like, oh, okay, which is a lot of people. A lot of people were just taught hateful things about gay or pan or bi or trans or queer people in general and did not receive the education to correct that. But once they do, they're good. There are a lot of really good people out there. I believe that people are bad, which is a sad thing to think. But, you know, with my life and everything that I've learned and lived, I need people to prove that I can trust them. Now, I don't trust easily, which is good because I used to trust way too easily. Now people have to prove that they can be in my life. And that's been a lot better for me, personally. So you live your life the way that you want to. But that's just a personal tidbit of me. Anyway, that's all the time that I have today because I have no more thoughts. And I have no more notes. But thank you for joining me. See you next week, or next year, or next month. Whenever I see you. I was able to get a haircut, so that's good. I did it where it was safe. I'm gonna be going up there every 3 months, so hopefully I will be freshly shorn, you know, for more videos. I saw someone refer to shaving sheep as peeling the sheep, you know, some fresh peeled sheep, and I haven't stopped thinking about it. I love you, be safe, wear a mask, drink water. Patrons, what can I say? You fucking rock! Thank you so much for sponsoring my videos. I love you very much. I want to give a special shout out to my silver sponsors, Dan Millington, Luke Rizik, Jean-Baptiste Rousey, Dane McRae, Alex Boner, Pocket Jawa, Giovanni Herrera, Babel Pawn, Giselle Nera, Richie, and Arlette. I want to also give, if my computer will let me, here we go, gold sponsors. I want to give a shout out to my gold sponsors, Sam Bartram, Danielle Gormley, Murray Byrne, Fritz Roll 732, Doran Trisky, and Frank. And last but not least, thank you so much to my beautiful diamond sponsors. I don't even know what bullshit I'm on right now. I just doing a funny voice and then I didn't. EPAM, Steve Streza, and official PSI. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. If you want to be a patron of mine, head on over to patreon.com/nowhacking. I'm planning some fun shit. We're doing a movie night. I'm trying to figure out what kind of podcast I want to do. I'm gonna be giving y'all patrons of mine extra content from that. We're figuring it out. We're rolling with the punches. We're doing things as we go. Thank you all so much for being subscribed to me, and once again, drink some water and look in the mirror and give yourself a little compliment today because you deserve it. Mwah. Goodbye.